Hey guys, Miss King again, and in this screencast, we're going to look at connective tissues. So to start, there are some common characteristics of all connective tissues. First of all, the living cells are called formed elements, and our extracellular matrix is a non-living material that's going to surround our living cells. So all connective tissues contain that non-living stuff. And there's different kinds of matrix depending on what type of tissue we have. There's going to be some hard, solid structures for bone tissue, flexible structures for cartilage, lots of protein fibers in our tendons and ligaments, spongy types of matrix for like areas in the skin. There's even going to be some soft and liquid types of matrix in fat tissue and blood tissue. And one of the characteristics about connective tissue that's important to understand is that because the cells are so scattered around in this non-living matrix stuff, it takes a really long time for that type of tissue to heal when any damage occurs. I mean, think about if you tear a ligament or if you break a bone. It takes a really long time for those things to heal. And this is the reason why those cells are so scattered about in this non-living tissue. They don't communicate with each other well to get that healing process going. We also see connective tissue pretty much everywhere in the body. And this is the most abundant type of tissue in our body. So most of our body tissues are going to be connective type tissues. And they all have some general functions. Connective tissues, of course, going to connect our body parts together. That's why they're called connective tissues. But they're also going to help support and provide some semblance of protection to organs in the body. So our first type of connective tissue is bone, or what we call osseous tissue. The bone cells, or the formed elements, the living cells in this tissue, are called osteocytes. And they actually live in little small cavities inside the tissue called lacunae. We know that calcium, milk does the body good. So our matrix of bone tissue is going to be a hard calcium type matrix. And bone is going to do several different things. It's going to help support and protect. And it provides a lever for muscles and movement, so it's connecting your bones and your muscles together. And this is also the site for blood cell production, so it's also connecting your skeletal system, your bones, to your circulatory system. Our next type of tissue is cartilage, and there are three types of cartilage that we're going to look at. The first type of cartilage is called elastic cartilage, and elastic cartilage is going to be found in places like your ear. So if you pull on your ear, you can tell it's a little flexible in its structure, and it's going to help just to maintain the shape of that outer ear structure. Now, in cartilage tissue, you have the cells are called chondrocytes, and the chondrocytes also live in those little cavities called lacunae, just like your bone cells did in the osseous tissue. With elastic cartilage, the chondrocytes are going to be very numerous, and you can see in this picture that there's lots and lots of cells, and they're kind of close together. In the second type of cartilage, hyaline cartilage, this is going to be found mostly in areas where we see a lot of friction, like the end of your long bones or in your rib cage. And this is going to help cushion, relieve stress from compression and friction. And again, chondrocytes are grouped together in clusters instead of just kind of scattered everywhere like with elastic cartilage. So you can see here's a cluster, and here's a cluster, and then here's a cluster. So they're kind of grouped together a little more than the elastic cartilage. And our third type of cartilage is called fibrocartilage. Fibrocartilage is usually going to be found in your spine, in between your vertebral discs, and in your knee, again, to absorb some compressive shock. Every time you take a step, your bones in your back and your bones in your knees are compressed against each other, and we don't want that friction to rub them down. So there's cartilage there to help protect those bones from being rubbed away. And then with cartilage cells in fibrocartilage, they're going to be kind of spaced out a lot more. There's going to be a lot more fibrous tissue, that non-living stuff. So this would be a lacunae with a cartilage cell, and then way over here is another lacunae with a cartilage cell. So they're very far apart in fibrocartilage. So very unlike elastic and hyaline cartilage. The next type of connective tissue is dense connective tissue. We find this type of tissue in our tendons and ligaments. The cells in dense connective tissue are called fibroblasts, and our non-living matrix is going to be this protein stuff called collagen. And this is what dense fibrous connective tissue look like. The cells are so densely packed together that you can't even see them in there. It's just, it looks more like stringy fibrous substance. The next type of tissue is areolar, or what we would call loose connective tissue. And these are going to be found in places like mucous membranes, surrounding your capillaries, anywhere where there's a possibility of having excess fluid. And their function is to absorb that fluid and remove it from around your organs. We don't want fluid to build up around our body organs. That could lead to infections and other types of diseases and disorders. The next type of connective tissue is called adipose. Adipocytes are the fat cells or the living parts of this tissue. And they look really strange because they are fat cells. They're storing fat. So the nucleus of these cells gets pushed to the side because the vacuoles that store that fat are so large they take up most of the space inside the cell. So its function is support, protection, it cushions your organs, it helps insulate your body. And you're going to find a lot of fat tissue just below your skin and around some of your organs like your heart and your kidneys, in the breast area of females, and your abdomen. The next type of connective tissue is called reticular connective tissue. This is going to form sort of a support network for your lymph vessels and your other lymphoid organs. You'll find these in places like your lymph nodes, your spleen, and your bone marrow. And our last type of connective tissue is blood. This is our fluid tissue. Blood cells are our living parts, and our matrix is going to be a fluid matrix, and it's called plasma. There are three types of blood cells. Erythrocytes are the red blood cells, leukocytes are white blood cells, and thrombocytes, or what we call platelets. And the function for your blood tissue is, of course, to transport materials connecting all of your body parts together. It has to transport oxygen and carbon dioxide, but there's also nutrients and things like waste products that have to be transported from one place to another in your body. All right, so when you come to class, you need to be ready to look at some connective tissues in the microscopes.